Hey there, everybody. I'm Donna from Stamping Fun with Donna, and today I'm here to show you some really fun cards. So I like to do what I like to call one card three ways. Why one card three ways? Well, sometimes you have more time, you have more supplies, you have more experience, and you want to do something a little bit more intricate. Other times, you may have just a little bit of supplies or a little bit of time, and you want to do something quickly. So what I like to do is to show you how you can take one set of stamps and one layout, and you can make it so that you can use it either when you are pressed for time or when you have more time and you want to make something a little bit more spectacular. And so I go ahead and show you three ways to make the same card. Today we're going to be using Celebrate Sunflowers, which is a great stamp set. And so let's head over to the stamping table and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this is Celebrate Sunflowers. Celebrate Sunflowers comes with a really large flower stamp. This large flower stamp takes up most of the card front. So really all you need is this one stamp and you've got a great card, and then just to put one of these really interesting and beautiful sentiments on the inside. It also comes with a smaller flower, and it comes with 3 leaves. These two are on one stamp, but you can cut them apart. And this one is by itself. And then I love the sentiments in here. This set also comes in a bundle where you can get die cuts if you want. Honestly, it's not the hardest one to cut out if you're not interested in the die cuts, but the die cuts make it a lot more fun. So let's go ahead and get started. Today, as I mentioned, we're going to be showing you 3 cards. So this is what I call a special card. And anybody would be very happy to get this. You'd be thrilled to give this to somebody, but it's very, very quick and easy. This one here is what I call a sensational card. And I've just stepped it up a little bit and done a little bit more with it. It takes a little bit more time and supplies, but you should be able to do this as well. And then this one here is what I call a spectacular card, which again has a little bit more on it and a little more interest on it, and a little bit more effort put into it, and it's really cool. I love this. This is actually vellum, and we're going to be cutting that out of vellum and putting it on top today. So let's go ahead and get started. We are going to start by making the special card. So I have already pre-cut the papers, and I will tell you this is just a normal cardstock, which is an 8.5 by 11 inch piece of paper cut in half. And then I went ahead and scored it down the middle so that I could go ahead and fold it here, and we have a regular size card piece. So there's our card base. This one right here is also out of Whisper White, and I cut this to 3.5 by 3.5, which is the good size, a good size for the large sunflower stamp. And then this one right here is So Saffron, and this one is cut just 1/8 of an inch larger. I kept it 1/8 of an inch larger. Usually we would do 1/4 of an inch. I kept it 1/8 of an inch larger because the flower takes up so much room. See, there isn't a lot of room, and I didn't want it to be too big for the card base, so I kept it just 1/8 of an inch larger. The first thing we need to do is to go ahead and stamp the large sunflower in Tuxedo Black Memento ink. Now you can use, if you want, a regular dye-based ink, but we're going to use the Stampin Blends, and when you use those, it does spread a little bit, and sometimes you want that look, but when I first did it with this card, I thought it looked a little bit muddy, so I decided to use the Tuxedo Black. Now when I have a stamp that is this large, I like to actually turn it over and to ink it up this way rather than putting the stamp down on the stamp pad, because that way I can make sure that I got everywhere I want and get it all inked up nice and well. Okay, now I'm just checking, make sure I didn't get any ink on my fingers there, because that will not be good. So now we're going to go ahead and just stamp this flower right in the middle of this piece. Press down. Because it's a photopolymer and it doesn't have any foam in the stamp itself, you just want to make sure that you're on something foamy, like this mouse pad or a Paris mat or the mat from your Stamparatus. There are lots of things you can use, but we got a beautiful impression. I'm very happy with that. So what we're going to do here is to color it in using my Stampin Blends. Sorry, I think I knocked that a little bit grabbing it. Okay, so what we are going to use today for this is a whole bunch of them. Now, you don't have to use this many. You can use whatever it is that you have. I looked at a couple of sunflowers and thought about how I wanted to do the sunflowers. Some people will do just yellow and make this quite light. Other people will do it darker. I like to have a little bit of orange poking through and a little bit of different colors. So I blended them, Stampin' Blends, and using my Stampin' Blends. So what I am going to do first is to take this one. This is the light soft suede. Yep, light soft suede. Now, you probably know this, but every end has both a bullet end and a more brush end. And you can tell by the lines. This is the bullet end because it's thinner. And I really shouldn't call it bullet end, right? I should call it something a little bit less aggressive. But anyway, and then this is the brush end. So what I'm going to do first is to just lay down some, using the smaller end, lay down some lines that we're going to end up blending in. So what I did this a whole bunch of different ways, and I was trying to figure out what I liked. And what I ended up with is putting in some brown to sort of make the yellow a little bit less bright. And then I added some other colors to make it more bright. So I wanted to make it a little bit darker towards the middle of the flower and then a little bit lighter towards the end of the flower. So we're going to be doing that. So I just went around here, and on some of these darker areas that the Stampin' Up artists put in, I went ahead and put some of the light soft suede. So now what we're going to do is to take this one. Now, you can do, I decided to use the real red, but this would look great if you used Cajun Craze, if you used pumpkin pie. There are a whole bunch of different ones that you could use. I'm just looking basically to make it a little bit more orangey, and I know it looks really red right now, but think back to kindergarten, and red and yellow equal orange. So we're gonna do it that way, and it adds a little bit more brightness, I think. So I enjoyed doing this, and I'm going up a little bit further than I originally put the brown, and just again, just hitting some of these lines that were put in there by the Stampin' Up artist just all around. Okay, and not too many because you don't want it to be too reddish. So next one I'm going to use is, this is the Dark Mango Melody. And this one is, I didn't want to use that end. See, you're supposed to look. And sometimes even I forget to look. I want to use the brush end. And what I'm going to be doing here is just sort of brushing it and blending it. And these reddish ones, I'm just going to blend them really well until they look more orangey, because the orange color is what I'm actually going for. I'm going for a bright orange color to make it a little bit more dark than just using the Mango Melody. And then these brown areas also will just sort of end up more as a darker yellow. This Mango Melody, as you can see, has a little bit of orange in it itself. It really does look like the color of mangoes. If you've ever eaten mangoes, this is definitely the color of the inside of the mango itself. So we're just swirling it around in lots of different circles. I find circles work really well. Then what I do is I come back over to the areas that are really red, and I sort of go up and down, because what I want to do is I want to pull some of that color away so it doesn't look like it's just lines anymore, and it looks more like it's just part of the picture itself. Okay, so we're pulling that away. We have just a little bit more to do here, and you can tell I'm leaving a lot of room, and I'm leaving a lot of room because I'm using a couple other colors as well. And what I want to do here is I want to have, as I mentioned before, the darker towards the center and the lighter towards the ends. So that's good for the Dark Mango Melody. The next one I'm going to be using is the Light Mango Melody. So I'm going to take the brush tip end and just start in where some of the darker Mango Melody is, and just sort of go outwards like this. Not as much circles as I did before. Now I'm sort of just pulling the color out so that it will be all blended well together, and just pulling it out, just making sure I get it on a little bit. But again, I'm still leaving some room because we have one more color. Now, you don't have to do as many colors as I'm doing. I just like the way that they blended. but you certainly could do fewer colors if that's what you wanted. You could do more colors, you could do different colors. Just take a look at different sunflowers and on, just pop them up on Google and see what you think you like the best, and those are the colors you should use. The last one I'm going to be using is the light Daffodil Delight. Is this light or is this dark? Hold on. This is the light Daffodil Delight, and this is going to make it even more light towards the tip and give it even more gradation. Don't worry if it looks a little bit like it's still, you can see where the gradations are because we will go back over them. Now this one we're not cutting out, so because of that, I'm a little more careful with the edges. If we were using the die or if we were cutting them out, you could go over it a little bit because this die cuts pretty close to it. So it's okay if you go outside the lines. But since we're not using that on here, I'm going to be a little bit more careful. The other thing is, I kind of like it when you leave a little bit of white. I think it adds even more gradation and even more different colors to it and lightness towards the tips. So I leave a little bit of white at the tip and I don't try to make everything. Now we've done most of it, but since there's a little bit, you can tell it's darker in the middle, which is what I wanted, but there's a little bit still where it looks a little bit where you can still see the gradations, and that will end when it will change when it dries a little bit more. But I'm going to just swirl around the edge here where the darker parts hit the lighter parts to try to make it just a little bit less obvious where one color ends and the next one begins. There we go. We are almost done. And I think this one came out absolutely beautiful. I love that. Hope you like it too. So now we have to think about the middle. And there are different ways to do the middle. I've seen people do it with yellow. I've seen people do it with black. I've seen people do it with brown. But what I really like for the middle are the soft suedes. I think that is the way that I think of sunflowers, and I think it comes out really pretty. So I have the light and the dark here, and I'm going to take the dark one, and this time I'm going to take the billet end, and I'm going to just draw right around the edge here where the inside meets the flower petals themselves. And I'm going to go over it a second time because I think it was a little bit thin for my taste. And now I'm going to take the brush end and I'm going to just brush the center, because in my mind, sunflowers have a darker center than they do the rest of the center. I don't know, the center of the center is darker than the rest of the center. So I'm going to make that nice and dark. And then I'm going to take the brush end of the light soft suede and I'm going to put it in between like this. And this I'm just doing with circles because I'm just trying to cover it. And then I'm going to try to do a little bit of circles right on the edge where the colors meet, so it's a little bit more blended and not quite as stark a difference. This one I don't really want the white in, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure I get it all covered. And there we go. We have this beautiful sunflower, and that took just, I don't know, probably 3, 4, maybe 5 minutes. I'm not exactly sure, but something like that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our liquid glue and we're going to glue this onto a piece of soft saffron. Sorry. And I was just using the soft suede. And so I'm getting towards the end of this one. See if I can eke out a little bit more there. Just put it all around. You don't need a lot, but you want to get it towards the ends, but you don't want it to seep out of the ends. So you just have to make sure that you get enough on there to hold it. And then we're going to take this and just put it right here. Now, if you prefer the tape runner, you certainly can use that, or tear and tape, or whatever it is your adhesive of choice. But because this is cut 1/8 of an inch around instead of 1/4 of an inch around, we don't have a lot of leeway. So I wanted to make sure I could squiggle it into place, which is why I really liked the green glue, the liquid glue for that one. Let me go ahead and move these Stampin Blends out of the way, Stampin Blends out of the way. So we have that. Now what we're going to do is take the piece of white cardstock that we have, and we're going to attach this using Stamping Dimensionals. Okay, so we have the Stampin' Dimensionals, and I am going to put them in each of the corners, like so, and then 2 in the middle. I want to make sure that there's enough here that it pops up and it stays really well. And then what I like to do is to take my Take Your Pick tool, And to use this to get the backs off, it just makes it so much easier to get the backs off. You certainly can use your fingers if you want to. I just prefer it this way. This one here, and we got one more. And that was a lot faster than if I had used my fingernails. And I say that and can't get the last one. 1 second. Or did I get it? Oh, I got it. And I was thinking it was still on there. Okay. So now we're going to take this, and we are almost done. I'm just going to add a little bit of bling because this is such a simple card. It's really easy to go ahead and add a little bling to it. So I got here the gilded gems, but these are absolutely beautiful, and it comes with a whole sheet of them. They're gorgeous, and they just, without doing very much at all, they really add a lot of pop to any card that you make. So I follow the rule of 3. I always like to use 3 of these. I think that if you have an odd number, it just looks so much better. And there's the first card. Didn't take us, I don't know, 10 minutes or something. You probably could do it a little bit faster, but it's really beautiful and really fast. Elegant, yet really simple. So now what we're going to do is to go ahead and do the second card, for which I did a little bit more. So I put it there. So I went ahead and cut out some of this beforehand because you don't need to see me doing the things that you just saw me do already. So here's our flower, which I already did. And I have the card base, and I cut this piece of paper from the In Good Taste Designer Series paper. So the In Good Taste Designer Series paper is absolutely beautiful. This one also doesn't take very long at all. Once you've done the flowers, all of these cards go very quickly. So what I'm going to do here is go ahead and put a piece of wood and then stick this on top. This piece of paper was cut 1/4 of an inch smaller than the card base. So the card base itself is 5.5 by 4 1/4. This was cut at 5 1/4 by 4. And I'm having trouble getting it where I want it. There we go, which is why you like green glue. I like green glue. So, because you can go ahead and move it around. Now I have the flower already, and what I'm going to do is go ahead and stamp the leaves. So we have 2 different sets of leaves. We have that kind of a leaf, and we have this kind of a leaf. I'm going to go ahead and put the flower and the page aside and grab a piece of Whisper White, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp these flowers in the Whisper White. I have a piece of hair there, hold on. Stamp these flowers on the Whisper White, one there and one here. Now I don't love those. I'm going to go ahead and do them again. This one is a little bit uneven, and this one is a little bit less crisp than I prefer. So let me go ahead and do that again. And oftentimes it's good to stamp these once anyway to make sure you have it inked up correctly. That's much better. I'm going to go ahead and set this aside before I get it all over my hands, because that's coming up next. So here we go. Now we are going to use the Mossy Meadow Light and Dark pens to color these. So if I take the bullet end of this, and I just want to where these lines are, where the veins in the leaves are, I'm just going to color in a little bit with the Mossy Meadow like this, so that the center is definitely darker than the edges, because that's the way leaves look. Okay, and now what we're going to do is take the brush tip of the other one and just brush it in. This is the light Mossy Meadow, and you can see when that fills in that the center is going to be darker than the rest of it, which is the way I want it to be, because that's the way leaves look. Draw lines straight up there and color this in and get this like this. Now if you want, you can always go back and do more light, do more dark, whatever it is, until you like the way it looks, because it definitely will blend really nicely. And for these, because I want to see the veins more, I'm blending more, less in circles and more right here in this way to make it a little bit lighter in the middle. Okay, now, but I'll go ahead and cut these out using my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So let's put this right here. Move everything out of the way and open it up. Okay, this is an amazing machine. I absolutely adore this machine. It's just so good to use. So because we're using die cuts, we're going to use plate number 1, and it says right on here, so you don't even have to memorize it. You just have to look at it. You don't even have to read because there's pictures of it as well. Plate number 2, plate number 3. Now I'm going to grab the Celebrate Sunflowers right here, and I'm going to be using this one and this one to cut them out. So I'm going to go ahead and take this and put a piece of paper here, and then all I have to do is to put that on, making sure it's in a good spot. These cut pretty closely, so you want to make sure that they're in a good spot. I think that's pretty good. Okay, and then I just need the top acrylic, which is right here. So I'm going to go ahead and put this one on and crank it through very easily. And you will see that when I take the top acrylic off, these come right off. And here are our cut out leaves. And as I mentioned, those cut out separately. You can cut them out by hand together. You can cut any of these out by hand if you prefer, because they're pretty easy. Let me go ahead and put this down. We're going to need it a little bit later just for something else, and put this one aside. Okay, so now what we have to do is just put this together. Again, I'm going to be using the Stampin' Dimensionals to pop the flower up. The last time we used it on the back of the piece of paper the flower was on. This time we're just going to pop just the flower up because we cut the flower out itself. And there, you want to make sure you have enough so that the flower pops up, but you don't have to have too many. On the other hand, these are so cheap. Oh, I took that one off already. And then these. Okay, so they're all off. Now I'm going to go ahead and place this in the middle, and this time I think I'm going to have it go that way. And then what I'm going to do is to take my leaves here and use my glue dots. I didn't buy these glue dots for the longest time because I thought, why do I need another glue? But they are amazing for, and that's the very end of the roll. They are amazing for small projects. They just work so well. So let me pick one up there and stick that there. And then I need one for, you just press it on and pull it off. And one for here. Let's do one there. And then the very last one will go right here. Okay. And now we just need a little bit of the bling because the bling really pops it out and makes it so pretty. So let's go ahead and put another 3 on, 2 up here. 1 down here. It's on my finger. I was wondering where that went to. Okay, and now put that there, and we're done with our sensational card. So here's your second card. Again, it only took a couple more minutes than the other one, not a lot. And we're going to do our very last card now. Let me go ahead and grab that to put here so you can see that. Again, it's just a little bit more than the other ones were. But not a whole lot more in this case. So what we're going to do here is I've already gone ahead and popped and done the flower and done the leaves and cut everything out there for you. What this is a second layer on top of the flower. So we are going to be cutting that one out right now with our cut and emboss machine. There we go. Okay, so let me pull this out again and put it here, and I need the same plates. So I need the plate number 1, plate number 2, plate number 3, and then what we're going to do is to grab I put my die cuts when it's specific to a set in with the set, so it's all together. So what we're going to do is grab this one. This one cuts out the flower. This one creates the interesting top to the flower. And what I like to do with this actually is to do this one in vellum. I think this is so pretty in vellum. I'm not even going to stamp anything. I'm just going to put it here, and I'm going to put this on top. Now, obviously you can use whatever you want. I've seen it in black and brown and all sorts of different colors. I just really like it in the vellum. Let me see if, there we go. And now if we take this off, it's all cut out. It comes right off of the vellum. I just need to poke out a few of these that didn't come immediately out. There we go, almost done. There we go. It just takes a few seconds, as you can see, to pop out the remaining ones. If they are stubborn at all, you can go ahead and use your take your pick tool, but with the vellum, they're never really stubborn. They're never that stubborn. Okay, so that's what we're going to put on top. So now we are going to take this, set this aside, and make sure we have all of our pieces. Again, we're going to just take, that's the back side. Isn't that pretty too? I think I'm going to use that with some poinsettias. I think that would look really cool. So we're going to go ahead and put the green glue on here again. The last time we're going to need to do that. Okay, set the green glue aside and put this one on right in the middle like that. Now, what I did on this one, and I forgot to do it already, is I tore the edge. Let me go ahead and do that. So usually when you tear the edge, you would tear towards where you're going so you can see the edge. But because this is designer series paper, it's got two different colors, and so it's white in the middle. So I tear towards me instead of towards, I tear towards the back instead of towards the front. So let's go ahead and put this back down here. I love the look of the torn. I think it adds a little bit more texture and dimension without having to do hardly any work. So it's a great thing to do there. Now we're going to go ahead and take the flower and add the Stampin' Dimensionals again all around. And make sure you get enough so it pops up, and then one in the center, and take the backings off. I don't know why today I keep thinking I don't have them, and I do. So it's kind of funny. I keep trying to get them off after I've already gotten them off. But this is just a really quick way of getting them all off. That one come off? No. There we go. All right, so now they're all off, and we're going to go ahead and put this in the middle. Let's do this one maybe this way. Okay, and then we have the leaves we're going to put on using the very end of my glue dots. So there's one here. And stick that one there. You can stick these anywhere you want. And it didn't come off. Let me try one more time. We'll get that one off. Okay, there we go. Stick that one there and stick this one goes. Let's get that off. Usually they're a little bit easier, but I think because it's the very, very end of the package, they're being a little bit stubborn. They're like, we've been here in our little nest and we want to stay here. Okay. I think I have two more of those left. And we'll pop this one. Where do we want to put this one? Right. Did I have that one? Yeah, that one. That's the way it goes. Right here. And actually, I think I put this one on backwards. So let's see if we can't fix that without ruining anything. Okay, just cover up that little pulled thing. There we go. So that's most of it. But what we're going to do is to add this on top of here, and look at how pretty that looks. Now there is a way that this goes that it matches, but I actually like it when it's a little bit off, so I don't even try to match it. Usually with vellum you don't want to do a lot of glue because you can see through it, but for some reason, and I cannot tell you why, it doesn't really show through. So if you put this down however you want it so it looks fairly good and kind of lined up, but not totally. And then you use your finger and rub around, the glue disappears. And you don't even see the glue. So there's that. And now all we have to do is to add some more of this bling. So let's put one here. We've got a little more room here, so we'll do the two here. and then maybe one down here because we got less room over there. There we go. And that's, oh, and then I was going to put, I forgot, I was going to just put a little bit of thread around it. So what I did here is I ran the thread around the entire thing. What I meant to do here was to run the thread underneath here and then put a bow on it. Let me see if I can still do that. So if I just wanted to cut just a little bit, run it this way, see if I can't get it stuck under here. I was going to use the tear and tape to stick it under there and then stick it under here on this side as green glue. I think that'll be easier. Stick it here and then put that end in it. I was going to show you how you cheat, how you don't use the whole thing but make it look like you use the whole thing by putting it underneath there. Okay, and then on this end, you want to do the same thing. Let me wipe off my fingers for just a second. I know that I brought out stuff just in case I got glue on my fingers, because I always get glue on my fingers. All right, and now let's go ahead and put a little more glue under here. That was way too much glue. Let me wipe it off before it seeps out. There we go. All right, and on this side, I'm going to pull it over here and put it over here. Now again, I meant to do this before I glued this down, so when you do this, go ahead and do this before you glue it down because it's just easier. Let me go ahead and stick this in there. But you know, there are really no mistakes in stamping because you can always fix it, whether it's adding something to something, taking something away. There's always a way to fix anything that you think is a mistake. Put a little more glue here now. Again, let me make sure that there's not too much and put that down. And now it's all glued in. And then what I'm going to do is take just a little bit more of this linen thread and to make a bow. There we go. All righty. That's the bow. Not the best bow I've ever made, but it's a bow. And then we will go ahead and use, again, I have just a couple of these left. I think, do I have one left? I do. I had exactly the amount I needed to make all three of these cards. So let's go ahead and put this right here. Okay, and then put the bow right there. There we go. And so that is our third and final card, the card I would call a spectacular card. And the only thing that is left to do is to stamp a sentiment. Now, there isn't a lot of room on the front of these to stamp a sentiment. So what I was doing for these was to stamp on the inside. So I took my soft suede. I thought soft suede looked really good with this. And to open this up and like to stamp thanks a bunch. And then I took the small flower from the set and put this onto a block. I think I'm going to, again, using the soft suede. Now for this one, I need to have something underneath it. So let me grab a piece of scrap paper because what I'm going to do is just stamp it partly off on the corner. And that way you have a little bit of a flower in the middle as well. So there's that one. The spectacular card. Here is our sensational card. And again, I'm going to take thanks a bunch. And this one I'm going to stamp several times around the bottom. So what I'm going to do is vary it. Now, I want to have some of these be full strength and I want to have some of these be stamped off. But because I stamped off and didn't get the whole thing, if I just stamped again, it would not be even. So I inked up, stamped off on the paper, did that, and now I'm going to do a full strength. And each of these I'm going to be turning a little bit to get a different angle. So let's do a full strength here. And there you go. And then the very last card was the special card that we did first. And again, one last time, we're going to stamp Thanks a Bunch. And there are other sentiments as well. On the first set I did all sorts of different ones. And here I'm just going to stamp up here, because you can stamp these anywhere you want. So I'm going to stamp this here, like that. There you go. So those are our 3 cards. Our special card, our sensational card, and our spectacular card. So thank you for spending some time with me today. I hope you enjoyed this. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know if you did enjoy this. And you can check out my website with stampingfunwithdonna.com. Thanks for spending some time with me. Bye.